Today is Safe Harbor Day. You may not have heard of it before this year's election, but it's bad news for President Trump. Under federal law, states have to certify their election results and resolve any leftover legal issues by today. If they do, Congress must recognize their electors. Today, the Attorney General of Texas said that his state's asking the Supreme Court to delay the Electoral College meeting next week and is suing Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Georgia. So we've got some issues on this Safe Harbor Day. NBC News Justice correspondent Pete Williams here now with all the Safe Harbor Day latest. Pete, before we get into the Texas Attorney General's suit, tell us more about this law and why this is bad news for the president.
Well, what it basically says that if a state can resolve any questions about its election results and certify its slate of electors by today, then, as you said, Congress, when it meets to count the electoral votes on January 6th, must count the votes from that state. Now, obviously, if a state does it after the safe harbor deadline, Congress can still count the votes, but it is a sort of belt and suspenders approach that states are understandably eager to take advantage of. Because if, for example, a legislature came along and said, you know what, the election in our state didn't happen right, we're going to send you a slate of Trump electors. If the state had already met the safe harbor deadline, then at least under this law, Congress would have to count the popular vote result, not the legislative vote result. And that's why it's potentially a problem for the president, because if he is trying to get a legislature to send its own slate of delegates, Trump delegates, to Congress to be counted on January 6th, and the state has already met the safe harbor deadline, then it would seem that that would be a futile gesture.
Pete, how about states like Pennsylvania where there are still active federal court cases?
You know, it's a good question. The weight of the experts on election law seems to be that the federal lawsuits making constitutional claims probably would not affect safe harbor status unless a court had issued a ruling that somehow called the state's results into question. So the weight of the scholarship seems to be that the mere existence of a federal lawsuit pending in federal court would not count against the state for safe harbor deadline. But, you know, I have to say that this safe harbor law is not one that's been, say, effectively stress tested since it was passed in the 1800s when there was a disputed presidential election when 4 states sent in dueling slates of electors. Congress said, you know, what are we going to do if this happens again? And this is the result. You know, who knows whether Congress would actually follow it, whether somebody might say in Congress, you know what, a past Congress cannot bind a future Congress. We're not going to follow it. But at least that's the idea. And states are understandably eager to take advantage of the safe harbor status.
So, Pete, let's get to the Texas AG, who is trying to delay the Electoral College's meeting. It's on the 14th of December. What is his argument or his specific issue in those battleground states, and where do you see this one going?
Well, this is the claim by the Texas State Attorney General filing this lawsuit on behalf of Texas. He basically says that there were so many problems in these 4 states that it's cast a shadow over the entire election, and the Supreme Court should delay the meeting of electors, which is set for December 14th by federal law, until these things can be resolved. Open question whether the Supreme Court even has the authority to do that. He says in a statement accompanying his filing of this lawsuit, Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin destroyed the trust and compromised the security and integrity of the 2020 election. I think this suit is a long shot.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.